You've been told you're stuck. Maybe you've told yourself that. And the advice always follows the same arc. Get disciplined, get a plan, take action, stop overthinking. As if the problem is inertia, as if the only thing between you and forward motion is the willingness to move. But what if you're not stuck? What if you've been moving, consistently, even diligently, just not in a direction that was ever yours? What if the paralysis you feel isn't the absence of motion, but the body's refusal to keep going somewhere it never agreed to go? That distinction doesn't get made often enough, and it changes everything. This is the creator's mind. Subscribe if you're new. Richter doesn't tell you what to do. He shows you what you've been carrying. There's a concept in developmental psychology called the introjected self, the version of a person shaped not by their own values and desires, but by the absorbed expectations of the people and systems around them: parents, school, culture, comparison. Over time, that introjected self becomes the default operating system, and people spend years, sometimes decades, executing that system faithfully, wondering why they feel vaguely disconnected from their own life. The disconnection isn't a malfunction, it's a signal. The life is running, it's just not fully yours. Here are the 10 signs that what you're experiencing isn't stagnation, it's misalignment. 1. You feel exhausted by things that should be rewarding. The work is good work. People would want your position. The lifestyle looks fine from the outside. But at the end of a full day of it, you feel a specific kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. That's not burnout from doing too much. That's the fatigue of sustained misalignment, of putting your energy into something that doesn't return it because the circuit was never actually connected. 2. You use the word should constantly when describing your own life. I should be further along. I should want this more. I should feel grateful. The word should is a compass. It always points away from the authentic self and toward the expected self. When your internal monologue is full of it, it means the gap between what you feel and what you're supposed to feel has become wide enough to require active management. 3. Your vision of success looks suspiciously like someone else's biography, not a general category of success, a specific picture, a specific lifestyle, a specific kind of validation, a specific story arc. And when you trace that picture back to its origin, it leads somewhere outside you. A parent's unfulfilled ambition, a peer group's definition of arrival, a culture's narrowly constructed version of what it looks like to have made it. The goal was handed down, the desire was borrowed, the pursuit has been sincere, but it was never pointed at you. 4. You feel more alive talking about what you could do than about what you're actually doing. Not because you're a dreamer, because the could space is still uncontaminated by external expectation. In the space of possibility, the vision is still yours. The moment it becomes a plan, it inherits the weight of every person who will have an opinion about it. The aliveness and possibility isn't escapism, it's the authentic self briefly finding room to breathe. 5. You have a recurring low-grade anxiety that you can't trace to any single source. It's just there, a background hum. Most days it's manageable. Some days it sharpens into something more specific. A tightening when you think about the next 5 years, a restlessness that shows up at night. That anxiety isn't neurological noise, it's orientation information. Your system is registering, below the level of conscious thought, that the direction you're moving doesn't match the direction you need. The creator's mind isn't about telling you your life is wrong, it's about making audible the signal that's already there, the one you've been explaining away. 6. You've gotten very good at reframing your situation for other people. Someone asks how things are going, and you have a well-practiced answer. True enough to not feel dishonest, shaped in a way that makes the gap between where you are and where you'd want to be seem like a reasonable interval, not a chronic ache. You've gotten smooth at this, almost too smooth, to the point where sometimes you convince yourself. 7. The people in your life who are most impressed by your path are the ones who understand you least. Your actual friends, the ones who know the full picture, have a slightly different reaction than the people at the edges of your life who only see the resume. The acquaintances are proud. The people closest to you are proud but also a little concerned. and you know, privately, which reaction is more accurate. 8. When you imagine your life going exactly as planned, you don't feel relief. You feel trapped. Not by failure, by success. By the thought of the current direction working out exactly as intended right through to the end. That reaction isn't ingratitude. It's your authentic self registering the full weight of a future it didn't choose. Relief is what you feel when something you actually want is confirmed. Entrapment is what you feel when something you're supposed to want is confirmed. 9. You find yourself drawn to people who left. People who quit the expected path, who changed directions, who did something that seemed irrational and turned out to be the only thing that made sense for them. You're drawn to their stories not just admiringly, but hungrily, the way people are drawn to things that contain something they need. That hunger isn't envy, it's recognition. Something in their story is reflecting something in yours. 10. Deep down, you know what you'd do if permission wasn't a factor. Not as a vague direction, as a specific thing. You know it. You've known it for a while. You've just been collecting evidence that it's not responsible enough, not guaranteed enough, not approved enough to pursue. That knowing, the quiet, specific one you've been explaining away, is the only part of this list that actually matters, because it was there before any of the other 9, and it'll still be there after all of them are addressed. The life that fits you isn't hidden, it's not lost. It's just been living underneath the one you've been executing on its behalf. The gap between those things, between the life you're living and the one you'd choose, that gap is not evidence of failure. It's evidence of misalignment that you now have a name for. And named things can be worked with. If number 10 landed differently than the others, if it didn't feel like a description but like a confrontation, hold that. That's not discomfort, that's clarity. Press like, subscribe to the Creator's Mind. Richter will be waiting in the next video when you're ready to keep going.